You feel that tightness in your chest. When you look at your bank account at the end of the month, that silent feeling that you're doing everything right, but your life isn't going anywhere? So listen to this carefully. You didn't fail. You were trained not to prosper. And the most dangerous part of it all? You didn't even realize it was happening. Every morning you wake up. You promise yourself that today will be different. Today you'll focus. Today you'll make progress. Today you take control. But when night comes, exhausted, distracted, lost, and you ask yourself, why doesn't anything change? Let me tell you, you're not lazy, you're not broken. You're trapped inside a system that profits from your confusion. This is the first video in a series, and if you watch until the end, your way of seeing success, money, and freedom may never be the same again. And today, this will become impossible to ignore. Let me ask you a question that might be uncomfortable, but needs to be asked. When was the last time you made a decision about your life that was truly yours? Not something your parents expected from you. Not something society told you that you should want. Not something you saw on social media and convinced yourself you needed. But a real decision, born from genuine mental clarity, rooted in your own sense of purpose and direction. Most people can't answer this question. And it's not because they're weak or naturally confused people. It's because most people are living on autopilot, moving through life like passengers in their own story, reacting to circumstances instead of creating them. And the worst part of all, they don't even realize it. They think they're making choices. They think they're in control. But in reality, they're just responding to programming that was installed years ago by people who never had their best interests in mind. Imagine this like you're watching your own life from outside, and you suddenly realize that you're not the protagonist making courageous decisions. You're a supporting character following a script that's someone else. A script that keeps you safe, predictable, controllable. And the director of this movie? It's not you. It's institutions, systems, collective beliefs that were passed down from generation to generation without ever being questioned. We live in a world that was designed, carefully built, to keep you confused. Confused about what you really want. Confused about what you genuinely need. Confused about what true success looks like. Because confusion is profitable, my friend. A confused person buys courses they never finish, subscribes to platforms they never use, chases opportunities that lead nowhere. They're always searching, always hoping, always one step away from the big breakthrough that never happens. And the system loves this. It thrives on it. From the moment you were born, they taught you to follow a very specific script. Go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, work hard, climb the corporate ladder, save for retirement, and maybe, if you're very lucky, enjoy the last years of your life when your body is already too tired to do meaningful with the freedom you finally earned. That's the deal. That's the dream they sold you. And for most people, it's not until they're decades into this journey that they realize the dream was never designed for them to win. I'm not here to tell you that the world is against you. I'm here to tell you that the world is indifferent. It doesn't care if you succeed or fail. It doesn't care if you're fulfilled or miserable. It just keeps moving. And if you're not intentional about where you're going, you'll end up wherever the current takes you. And the current, my friend, flows toward mediocrity, toward distraction, toward a life spent working on someone else's vision while your own slowly disappears into background noise. This isn't about blaming anyone. Your parents did the best they could with what they knew. Society operates in systems that were built generations ago, and most people are just trying to survive within them. But here's the truth nobody tells you. You don't have to accept the default path. You don't have to live according to someone else's definition of success. You don't have to keep waiting for permission to start building the life you actually want. The first step toward true prosperity, toward true freedom, is waking up. Not in a mystical and abstract way, but in a practical, reality-grounded way. It's recognizing that most of what you believe about money, success, and happiness was taught to you by people who never achieved what you're trying to build. It's understanding that mental clarity doesn't come from consuming more. It comes from stepping back, questioning everything, and deciding what's truly real for you. Napoleon Hill spent decades studying successful people, and one thing he found repeatedly was this: the people who build real wealth, real influence, real freedom, all started by rejecting the conventional path. They didn't follow the crowd. They didn't do what was safe. They questioned the assumptions that everyone else accepted as truth, and built their lives from a place of intentional design, not reactive survival. So ask yourself now, what are you building at this very moment? Is it a life that excites you, that challenges you, that makes you feel alive? Or is it a life that feels like an obligation? A series of tasks you should complete so you can finally, one day, start truly living? Because if it's the second option, it's time to face a hard truth. That day you're waiting for, that moment when everything clicks and you finally feel ready, it's not coming. Not until you decide it's already here. Have you ever stopped to think why there are so many smart, capable, talented people who work tirelessly every day and still never seem to get anywhere? It's not lack of effort, it's not lack of ability, it's lack of clear direction. It's the absence of a defined purpose that guides every decision, every action, every choice of how to spend energy and time. And without that, you can work for the rest of your life and still wake up at 50 wondering where all that effort went. Your thoughts create your reality. And I know this sounds like a cheap motivational cliche, but it's a concrete psychological fact. Every decision you make, every action you execute, every result you produce starts with the way you think. And if your thinking is shaped by fear, doubt, and outdated programming, your life will reflect exactly that. You'll get stuck in patterns that don't serve you. You'll repeat the same. You'll wonder why nothing ever changes, even though you're working harder than. The problem isn't effort. Most people work incredibly hard. They push themselves, they sacrifice, they dedicate themselves with everything they have. But effort without direction is just noise. It's movement without progress. It's like running on a treadmill and wondering why you're not getting anywhere. You're sweating, you're tired, you're putting in the work. But the destination never gets closer because you're moving in the same place. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I met a guy who worked 16 hours a day. He was always busy, always doing something, always in motion. He had 3 side jobs, was trying to invest in stocks, was starting an online business, was studying digital marketing. From the outside, it looked like he was doing everything right. But when you looked closely, you realized that nothing was actually moving forward. He was too busy to be strategic. He was moving too fast to have clarity. And after 2 years at this pace, he was more broke, more tired, and more lost than when he started. You know what his problem was? He confused movement with progress. He thought being busy meant he was building something. But the truth is he was just reacting. Reacting to every new opportunity that appeared. Reacting to every promise of quick results. Reacting to every guru who claimed to have the magic solution. And in the end, he had a lot of activity, but no direction. A lot of effort, but no meaningful results. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do things you hate. Discipline is about aligning your daily actions with a clear vision of where going. It's about making decisions from a place of power, not panic. It's about building systems that make success inevitable, instead of hoping motivation will carry you, because motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going when the initial excitement fades and the real work begins. James Clear talks about this in a way that cuts through all the noise. He says that people who achieve extraordinary things don't rely on, they rely on systems. They design their environment, their routines, their daily habits in a way that makes the right choices easy and the wrong choices hard. They remove friction from the path they want to follow and add friction to the they want to avoid. This is how you reprogram your mind. Not through affirmations or empty positive thinking, but through intentional design. Let me tell you something that might bother you a bit, but needs to be said. If your life isn't where you want it to be, it's not because you're unlucky. It's not because the world is rigged against you. It's because your daily decisions are misaligned with your long-term goals. You say you want financial freedom, but you spend money on things that don't. You say you want to build something meaningful, but you give your best energy to distractions. You say you want to live a high-value life, but you're settling for low-value habits. The distance between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with information. It's filled with better decisions, powerful decisions. The kind of decision that feels uncomfortable in the moment, but accumulates into transformation over time. And here's the truth about powerful decisions. They require clarity. You can't make a powerful decision if you don't know what you're building. You can't choose the right path if you don't know where you're going. This is where most people fail. They want results, but they don't want to do the internal work of defining exactly what they want, why they want it, and what they're willing to sacrifice to get it. So they float. They experiment. They try a little bit of everything and master nothing. And after years of doing this, they wonder why they're still in the same place. Before continuing, I want to pause here and ask you to do something. If this is resonating with you, if something in these words is awakening a part of you that's been asleep for too long, hit that like button. Leave a comment below and tell me what's standing out to you. And if you haven't followed this channel yet, follow now. Because this is the first video in a series that will take you deeper into the mindset, strategy, and discipline needed to build real wealth and real freedom. The second part, which is called Since Childhood, They Programmed You to Think Like a Poor Person, will challenge even more the beliefs you carry, and you won't want to miss it. And one more thing. In the first pinned comment below this video, I left a practical guide with 21 mental exercises that I personally use to cut through the noise and build clarity in my own life. It costs less than a coffee, but it can save you years of walking in circles. It's not something you need, but if you're serious about making a real change, it's a tool that can accelerate the process. Check it out if it makes sense. Now let's continue. Here's a truth most people don't want to hear. Working hard doesn't make you rich. Being busy doesn't make you successful. And having a bunch of goals doesn't mean you're going anywhere meaningful. You can spend your entire life pushing, sacrificing, grinding with everything you have, and still end up broke, exhausted, and wondering where it all went wrong. Because effort without direction is just expensive distraction. I see this all the time. People who are trying to do everything at once. They're chasing opportunities in 5 different directions, taking all the courses, following all the gurus, and wondering why they're overwhelmed. They think more is better. They think speed is the answer. But speed without direction is just chaos. It's not productivity, it's panic disguised as ambition. A high-value life isn't built by doing more, it's built by doing less, but it's built by identifying the few things that actually move the needle and going in on them. It's built by saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great opportunities. It's built by understanding that your energy, your time, your focus are finite resources, and every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Let me give you a very clear example. Think about 2 people. Both want financial freedom. Both are willing to. Person A tries everything: real estate, stocks, crypto, side hustles, freelancing. They jump from opportunity to opportunity, always chasing the next thing, always starting over from scratch. Person B chooses one path, studies it deeply, builds systems around it, and compounds their efforts over time. Who do you think wins? It's not even a close competition. Person B builds wealth. Person A builds a resume of unfinished projects. This is what financial direction looks like. It's not about knowing everything. It's about knowing the right thing and going deeper instead of wider. It's about playing the long game in a world obsessed with instant results. It's about understanding that prosperity isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a byproduct of consistent, intentional action over time. Carol Dweck spent years researching mindset, and she discovered something critical here. People who succeed don't see challenges as threats. They see them as opportunities to grow. They don't avoid discomfort. They lean into it because they know that's where transformation happens. And they don't measure their worth by current circumstances. They measure it by trajectory. Are they moving toward the life they want? Or are they stuck in patterns that keep them where they are? If you're watching this now and feel stuck, I want you to ask yourself, what's one thing I could focus on for the next 90 days that would completely change my financial reality? Not 10 things. Not a list of vague intentions. One thing, one skill, one business model, one investment strategy, one daily habit. And then ask yourself, am I willing to go all in on this? Or am I going to keep dabbling and wondering why nothing ever works? Here's what happens when you have clear direction. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. You stop seeking external validation because you know exactly what you're and why. And that clarity, that internal certainty, becomes your greatest competitive advantage in a world full of people who, confused, distracted, and reacting to everything. Think of this like navigating an ocean. Most people are in a boat without a compass, without a map, being carried by the waves and hoping to eventually arrive somewhere good. They're working hard, rowing with force, but they have no idea where they're going. And then there's you, with a clear compass, a defined map, a charted route. You might face the same waves, the same storms, the same challenges, but you know where you're going, and that makes all the difference. This series was designed to help you build that compass. The third part will give you a clear framework for building a life of financial clarity and personal power. But none of this matters if you don't start making different decisions today. Not tomorrow, not on Monday, today. So here's what I want you to do. In the comments, tell me what you're struggling with right now. What's the area of your life, financially or mentally, where you feel stuck? I read every comment, and I'll use your feedback to shape the next videos in this series. This isn't just content, it's a conversation. And the more you engage, the more value I can create for you. Let's talk about something most people get backwards. They think money creates identity. They think wealth creates purpose. They think success creates confidence, but it's the complete opposite. Your identity creates your money. Your purpose creates your wealth. Your inner strength creates your success. If you don't know who you are, if you don't have a clear sense of what you stand, what you value, what you're building, then money will just amplify your confusion. You'll earn more, but you won't feel more fulfilled. You'll achieve more, but you won't feel more alive. You'll accumulate things, but you won't build anything meaningful. Because without identity, wealth is just a number. Without purpose, success is just noise. This is where most people lose the game before they even start. They're so focused on the external, on what they can see and measure, that they completely ignore the internal. They ignore their personal energy. They ignore their emotional clarity. They ignore the fact that how they feel every day is a direct reflection of how aligned they are with who they're becoming. And if you're misaligned, if you're living someone else's life, chasing someone else's goals, following someone else's definition of success, you'll never feel at peace. You'll always be searching. You'll always feel like something's missing. Because it is. You're missing. Personal energy is everything. You can have all the strategy in the world, all the knowledge, but if your energy is scattered, if you're emotionally drained, if you're carrying resentment, fear, and doubt, you won't be able to execute. You won't be able to show up. You won't be able to do the work that actually matters. And that's why self-mastery comes before financial mastery. That's why clarity comes before strategy. That's why you need to know who you are before you can build what you want. Daniel Kahneman spent his career studying decision-making. And one thing he discovered is that people don't make rational decisions. They make emotional decisions and then rationalize with logic. Which means if your emotions are rooted in fear, scarcity, and insecurity, your decisions will reflect that. You'll play small. You'll avoid risk. You'll settle for less because deep down, you don't believe you deserve more. But if your emotions are rooted in clarity, confidence, and purpose, your decisions will reflect that too. You'll take courageous action. You'll trust yourself. You'll build something that actually matters. So how do you build this foundation? How do you cultivate emotional clarity and personal energy in a world that's constantly pulling you in 1,000 different directions? You start by protecting your attention. You stop consuming everything and start choosing intentionally. You stop saying yes to everything and start saying no to what doesn't serve you. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating that moment with the decisions you make today. You also start asking better questions. Not, how do I make more money? But who do I need to become to attract the opportunities I want? Not, why isn't this working? But what can I learn from this to make it work next time? Not, what do other people think I should do? But what does my intuition, my deepest self, know is right for me? Because the answers you get depend entirely on the questions you ask. And if your questions are rooted in fear and external validation, your answers will keep you stuck. But if your questions are rooted in growth and self-awareness, your answers will set you free. Purpose isn't something you find. It's something you build. It's not a moment of insight where everything suddenly makes sense. It's a daily practice of showing up, doing the work, and paying attention to what lights you up and what drains you. It's noticing what makes you feel alive and what makes you feel like you're just going through empty motions. And then it's having the courage to move toward the first and away from the second. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else, even when the path isn't clear. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly energized? Not just happy or entertained, but truly energized. That feeling of being completely aligned with what you're doing, of knowing you're on the right path, of feeling that every action you take is moving you closer to who you're meant to be. For most people, that feeling is rare. So rare that when it appears, they almost don't recognize it. And this isn't accidental. It's because they've spent so much time living according to other people's expectations that they forgot what it's like to live according to their own. This is what a high-value life looks like. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's not about showing off or proving anything to anyone. It's about knowing who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. It's about making decisions from a place of strength, not desperation. It's about building something that reflects your values, not someone else's expectations. And it's about doing all of this with intention, with discipline, with a deep sense of self-mastery that nobody can take from you. So here we are. You've made it to the end of the first part. And if you're still here, it means something in these words struck a chord. It means you're not just looking for another quick trick or empty motivational boost. You're looking for truth. You're looking for direction. You're looking for a way out of the noise and into clarity. Let me leave you with this. You didn't fail. You were never meant to succeed within the system you were given. The rules were written by people who benefit from your confusion, from your endless search for answers that never fully satisfy. But now you know. Now you see, and once you see, you can't unsee. The question is, what are you going to do with this awareness? Are you going to keep playing by the old rules, hoping this time will be different? Or are you going to step back, rewrite the game, and build something that's truly yours? Are you going to keep reacting to life, or will you start creating it? Will you stay comfortable in the familiar discomfort of where you are? Or will you embrace the unknown growth of where you're going? Think of this as being at a crossroads. To your left, the familiar path. You know every turn, every pothole, every disappointment waiting for you. It's predictable, it's safe in a sick way. You know exactly where you'll end up because you've been there 1,000. To your right, the unknown path. You don't know exactly where it leads, but you feel, deep down, that's where you should be going. It will require courage. It will require you to leave behind old versions of yourself. It will require you to trust something you can't fully see yet. Most people choose the left, not because they want to, but because they're afraid to choose the right. And then they spend the rest of their lives wondering, what if? What if I had tried? What if I had trusted myself? What if I had the courage to build the life I actually wanted instead of the life they told me to live? This series isn't about giving you easy answers. It's about giving you the right questions. It's about showing you the patterns that have kept you stuck, and the principles will set you free. The second part, since childhood they programmed you to think like a poor person, will challenge the deepest beliefs you have about yourself, your worth, and your potential. And the third part will give you the map to transform all this awareness into results, into a life that truly reflects who you are and what you're capable of. But none of this matters if you don't decide, right now, that you're done waiting, that you're done making excuses for why your life isn't where you want it to be. Because the moment you take total responsibility for where you are, you take total power over where you're going. And that's when everything changes. If you forget everything I've said until now, remember this: the system wasn't made for you to win. It was made for you to keep playing, keep hoping, keep believing that the next thing, the next opportunity, the next year will be different. But the truth is, nothing changes until you change. No external strategy will save you if your internal identity is still stuck in survival mode. If this video awakened something inside you, if it made you question things you've been accepting as truth, I want you to do something. Write in the comments below, what's the decision you're ready to own starting? What's the change you're going to make? What's the one thing you're no longer willing to tolerate in your life? Don't overthink it. Just write it. Put it out into the world. Make it real. Because the life you want is on the other side of the decisions you're avoiding. And the only person standing in your way is the version of you that's still living by someone else's rules. It's time to wake up. It's time to take control. It's time to stop waiting for permission and start building the life you were meant to live. I'll see you in part 2. Until then, stay sharp, stay intentional, and remember, you were never broken. You were just playing the wrong game.